Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Kansas City Jazz pianist, composer, and vocalist, and even a teacher, Leslie Maclean. She talked about her latest CD, That's Time Enough, and she has been at it for some time. She's been a professional musician since the age of 13, and at college she worked extensively with free jazz musician Muhul Richard Abrams. She would go on to earn a Master of Music and Piano Performance at the Chicago Musical College of Roosevelt College, and she would go on to open for legends like Stan Kenton. She's appeared at many of the top Chicago jazz clubs. She's all over the Kansas City scene. She has a very long and interesting journey, so please get to know her and dig this interview, my friends.
Thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
So let's dive right in here and talk about your latest CD, That's Time Enough. Talk to me about this project and kind of how it came about and how you feel about this CD.
We were actually kind of not playing jazz for quite a number of years, and we got started again in 2003 when we were still in St. Louis. So as we went along, we had an earlier CD that we made, came out pretty well, and we decided, okay, let's try to do another CD. And at that time, we were very good friends with Ross Tilly, who's a DJ up in St. Louis, and he thought we should do a CD, which was very supportive of him. He is the one that put us in touch with Bob Bowman, who played bass on that CD. You know, we booked the time. We did it at what was then Soundtrack with Ron Ubel. It was fun. I mean, I had done all the arrangements, and some of them we were already playing, but some of them were debuting on that CD. Basically, you know, we just wanted to get our music out. That CD really did a great job for us. I'd like to go some of the places that we that we shipped some of those CDs to. We sold quite a lot in Japan. I like to go there. And yeah, the CD's been kind of all around the world, actually.
Yeah, very cool.
Which is cool, yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. So where were you born and raised?
Actually, I was born in Illinois, and I was raised in a little town in the north of Illinois, in a little town called Mundelein. And that's where I was a child. That's my childhood there.
Cool.
Went to school all through, you know, elementary, junior high, high school, all within walking distance of my house. We played quite a bit in Chicago, and that was, you know, how we kind of entered the field, if you will.
So when you say we, you're talking about your husband, Jerry.
Yeah.
A drummer on the Kansas. Just for context, for people that are listening and wondering who he is, I just want to make sure they know. It's Jerry Pollack. He's a Kansas City Jazz drummer. I actually caught him at the Waldo Jazz Collective. I've known his name for years. So anyway, I just wanted to contextually kind of weave that in a little bit.
Yeah, we've been playing together since 1976.
Right on. So give me an idea when you were growing up about how you got interested in jazz and maybe some of the early jazz albums that you were listening to that really left an impression on you.
There are very many. But my dad, this I think is what started me out on this. My dad loved big band jazz, and he had a lot of records from a big band that was actually in England, Ted Heath. I still have the recordings. He listened to those, and I listened to those. I just thought, oh, that's really neat. I would like to play that kind of music. And so I heard that music all through my young years, and I started playing the piano when I was 6. But that I think is what caught my attention and got me interested in playing jazz. And that was about, when I started getting interested in that, I guess I was about 11 or 12, when I thought, oh, I would like to play that. That sounds cool. And then there's another very strong influence in what I did was Peter Nero. And his arrangements, I just thought that was marvelous. And that's what I thought, oh, I want to have the arrangements like that and be in a piano trio, but I also want to play in a big band. I kind of melded those two things together in my arrangements for the trio. So that, I think that's really where I got interested. And of course he listened to Buddy Rich, and he listened to, he liked the drums, and he listened to all the big bands. And so my dad was really interested in jazz, and I think that's where I first heard jazz. Then, when I got into college and so forth, then I listened to probably every pianist that ever made a record. You know, and there's just so many. I think the big influence was Peter Nero, and the way he put together his arrangements. But, you know, I listened to, you know, Oscar Peterson and Bill Evans and let me think. Yeah. Bill Evans, so many that I listened to and was very influenced by Bill Evans. Now I have Mary McPartland was big in my mind.
Sure. So by 13 you were playing professionally, it says in your bio. So tell me, were you destined to be into music starting out at such a young age?
Yeah, my mother's side of the family was all musical. I was expecting to follow in her footsteps. And I just remember, wanting to play. I remember very strongly at, 6 or 7, I was very strongly attracted and wanted to play. And people always say, oh, I wanted to play piano and, I didn't keep up with it and didn't practice and so forth. Did your mother have to force you to practice? And usually it was the total opposite. She would say, Leslie, stop playing that piano. It's dinner time or whatever.
Sure.
And I got locked in. And so anyway, yeah, at 13 I was playing like little gigs with the junior high school dance and stuff like that. And then in high school, I played with a professional group that went out and played dance music, and I did that quite a bit. And then I was working at that time with my brother, who was a drummer. Unfortunately, that sibling relationship kind of degraded as we tried to work together. And then I went to college and continued with the jazz band there. And in 1970, I won the award for Best Soloist at the Midwest Jazz Festival. And that was presented by Mary McPartland. That was a pretty big deal.
Well, when you were in college, you learned from Muhul Richard Abrams, the free jazz virtuoso. That had to be a pretty big learning experience for you.
It really was. And I didn't continue down that path of free jazz, obviously.
Okay.
I like tunes, and I wanted to play tunes. And that's modern mainstream jazz, as one reviewer categorized this, and I think that says it all. We play tunes. I do have original material. We had a couple of tunes on our last CD, and the CD that we're expecting to record sometime either late this year or early next year is going to have quite a few more. It's going to have some of my songs on it. The first one I did not sing. We did not want to position me as a vocalist. I'm a pianist first and a vocalist at times. But that's why we have no vocals on the CD. We just didn't want to position it that way. I didn't want to draw attention away from our piano trio. But this next one, this is going to be a different story. This next one, we're putting on my original stuff, and I'm really excited about that.
Let me ask you this. In your career, with all kinds of things that have happened and kind of, scraping the arc of big names, you did open for Stan Kenton. You've been all over Chicago. Talk to me about what it was like to play with Stan or open for him.
That was an interesting evening.
Okay.
It was an outside gig. Now I'm remembering this, and it's been quite a while. So it was an outside gig. My dad was there. I heard their big band, which, was fabulous. It was just a great experience to hear them live. And at that time, Stan Kenton was still alive. So I talked with him. My dad talked to him. What should she do to continue down this way and play jazz? And Stan Kenton said, just keep going, be persistent, don't quit. So it was, I met Stan Kenton. He was quite elderly, but he was still going, and he was traveling with that band. I played with my little trio to start off that concert, and it was really exciting. I mean, and meeting him was really intense. It was that was one of the big bands that I listened to, and they were doing a little bit more edgy kind of big band music, kind of getting away from, like the more dancey kind of things that big bands would normally play. And he was very interesting to me, and I was glad to be able to meet him.
So you started out in Chicago, made your way to St. Louis. It was like you were always kind of destined to move in the direction of Kansas City, and you're here now. How do you feel about the Kansas City scene? You've seen a lot of jazz in your life. How satisfying is this scene in 2018?
We came here to play jazz, and the scene was a little bit different. We moved here in 2006. And we had been playing in a couple of clubs from St. Louis and traveling here. I have to say, it's been extremely difficult to break into the jazz scene here. And I still feel somewhat of an outsider. Not from here, not from anywhere near here. It's been really difficult. Things are starting to ease up now. I'm working quite a bit with different vocalists and backing. So we're backing vocalists. We're appearing at the Black Dolphin. We're in a position now where we can actually record this next CD. I would say nobody knows you in your own hometown. That's how I would kind of describe our situation here in Kansas City. A lot of great musicians here that have been here for years and years, and that's fine. Their livelihood cannot be, affected by new people coming in, and I get that. So I'm very excited about what I'm doing now. It's taken a really long time.
What live jazz shows have you witnessed in your life that really left a deep impact? I mean, there's levels of education that you can get from a bachelor's to a master's, and you can learn from actually performing yourself, but watching music's a big deal. What live jazz shows, maybe one or two that you've seen that have left a really big impression?
Any of them that I've gotten to been lucky enough to hear. I heard Bill Evans when he came to Chicago, this has been years ago, and that was really fabulous. It was a small room, and I'm not sure, it might have been a jazz showcase. I can't remember. But I certainly remember him playing, and I was close enough to see his hands on the keys. That was a, really thrilling experience. I heard Oscar Peterson. Oscar Peterson traveled for a while with just his bass player, and they did a duo. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go see him, and that was amazing. I mean, the thing that really strikes me about seeing live jazz and live jazz shows is just the pure joy of playing that you can feel when you're listening to these folks. Also, we had a chance to see this really fine drummer, Art Blakey. And that was wonderful. This wonderful drummer sat with just a hi-hat. This is how he opened his show. He sat with just a hi-hat and played the most amazing solo. That's all he had, using the sticks, using the cymbals. He used the stand for different sound effects. That was a really exciting show. That was very cool. And then, of course, we've heard a lot of local people down through the years, and that's always nice too. Those are the couple that stick in my mind. And then we heard Peter Nero when he came into town here. That was incredible too. I mean, it's just these people just play with freedom and joy, and it's such a great thing to hear people play live.
Yeah, I agree. So, why do you love jazz?
What attracts me to jazz is the improvisational part of it. There's really nothing like the feeling of playing against, playing your changes and improvising over changes and just letting whatever ideas come into your head come out onto your instrument. Then one idea leads to another idea and another idea as you're playing. That is just so scintillating and so exciting to me that I cannot imagine not doing it. And of course, the other thing is I love these tunes. I've always liked these tunes. I love the fact that with jazz, we can draw from so many different sources for material. There's the iconic jazz tunes, like Fiora and Blue Bossa and Au Privav and all those great tunes that were composed by jazz artists. But then there's also musical theater. I love me a jazzed up show tune. And that's fun. And then you have the whole American songbook to draw from. There is nothing that is out of bounds to play. In fact, I have a really great recording, Jeff Hamilton with Tamir Hendelman, and they're playing Gary, Indiana as a samba. It's really cool. Yeah, so that's what I'm drawn to, I think. And of course, the other part of it is that I just love to play the piano. So I get to play, and I love to play, and the jazz is, even when it's not, it's not freestyle, of course, but there's a big quotient of freedom to playing jazz that I really lock into.
This is my final question, and I want to know, everyone has a perception of you, their version of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your fans, your colleagues, but you know who you are. Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? Well, I've been described as a badass.
All right. That's it. The best shortest answer ever for this question. Badass. I like it.
Yeah, that, and I kind of am. I put a lot of energy into what I do.
Cool. I like it. And, sometimes with this answer, the shortest way you can put it out there is the best way. It's like the Twitter answer, So, Leslie, thank you for taking some time out, and I really appreciate what you're doing for Kansas City. It's always a joy to really highlight what's going on in this jazz town that is still thriving. It's still going through a new level of renaissance.
Yes, it is, and that's very exciting. I'm glad that we're getting to be a part of it.
So thank you for the music. Thank you for your time, and I will continue to see you out there on the scene and keep on making that great music.
Oh, please. I would love to, and please come out and see us. We're around.
Yes, I know you are. You're busy.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Leslie for her time and her stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. For everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.